Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Let's Talk About podcast. It's me, your host, Neil Orange Peel, and today we are talking about the tragic death of Laci Peterson, also her unborn child, Connor. Yeah, Laci was 27 when she died. She was a beautiful woman, stunning woman, absolutely beautiful. And she died on Christmas Eve. So we're going to be diving into that. But before we do that, to get the housekeeping out of the way, if you want to contact me, you can contact me on let's talk about pods@gmail.com. There's only one person ever done that, but I still have to say it anyway. And you can get in touch with me on let's talk about let on Instagram on let's underscore talk about pods. I also have my YouTube. These videos now go up on YouTube. If you want to find the videos on YouTube, it's Let's Talk About podcast videos. There was somebody already on there called Let's Talk About, so I was never found. I couldn't even find it myself, to be honest. So I had to put the videos on the end, and then you type that in, and the videos come up. And to be honest, I'm getting a lot of traction on the videos. To be honest, I get more traction on the videos than I am the Spotify episodes for some strange reason. I don't know why. No, I don't know why anybody want to look at this, but yeah, it's doing okay over there. To be honest, it's not too bad. But yeah, so follow me on both. Follow me on Spotify, follow me on YouTube. And like I said, and you can contact me on either of the two platforms. Let's talk about pods@gmail.com or let's underscore talk about pods. I have spoken to friend of the pod, Brad Thomas, and we were going to be doing an episode soon, either on Ed Kemper or Larry Hall, the guy the Black Bear TV series was made on. He asked me about doing an episode on a serial killer, and I was like, I can't do a serial killer on my own. I'm not good enough. I'm not well. I'm not good enough. It's not. I'm not big enough. Like I said, I'm a snake's belly in the podcast world. I said the best of the best have done these. So it's really something I really want to do. I want to do the ones that I'm like lower, a little bit of a lower level that people know, but they're not massive. And I thought about it for a few days and I thought, fuck it, let's have a crack at it. So I messaged him and said, look, I'll do it, but you have to do it with me because I cannot do this on my own. This has took over a week of research to do this episode because there is so much to research. And he said, yeah, okay, I'll do one. So he's going to be picking either Ed Kemper or Larry Hall, two proper sick, twisted fucks. Larry Hall made the TV show Blackbird about with Taron Egerton, and Ed Kemper was a giant. I think he was 6'10", and the show Mindhunter was based on him because he's like a genius, sick fucker, but he was a genius, and he used to help the police profile serial killers. And like I said, in the show Mindhunter was based on him. So yeah, we'll be doing one of those that'll be in a couple of weeks. So I've got to talk to him about interview him about his book anyway. He's got a new book out. So we're going to be doing that. So Brad might be on the show a few times. So that's coming up soon. But today's episode, like I said, we're going to be talking about Laci Peterson, the tragic death of Laci and Connor Peterson, her unborn child. So let's get a picture of Laci up, shall we? So this is Laci Peterson. She was 27 when she died, and she's coming up now, and there she is. She's in a black dress, and she's got a black hair, beautiful smile, brown eyes. She's a beautiful woman. I've got to admit, she's a stunning woman. She really is beautiful. And she spells her name Laci as well, which is a sexy way of spelling it. Here she is. She's pregnant. If you watch the documentary on Netflix, they use this picture a lot because I think this was at one of her baby showers. She had two baby showers or something, and she's pregnant in that picture. And she was, yeah, she was. I'm sure they said Scott was supposed to have met her or something. He didn't turn up, and we'll find out the reason why. But she was a very, very, very proud mom. She's always wanted to be a mom, and when she found out, she was just, she had everything. That was her everything to be being a mom. And here's another picture of her being pregnant, and there she's lying on the sofa. She's got like pajama bottoms on and a normal white t-shirt. She's showing the tummy. Yeah, she's just lying down with her hand on a bump and absolute proud as punch to be a mom, like all moms should be when they're pregnant because they have that glow about them. Yeah, stunning woman. And here she is with a piece of shit. And this is a picture of these two together. So there's a picture of the two of them together. So she's lying. She's got black neck length bobbed hair, brown eyes, got a white V-neck top on, and there's the piece of shit next to her. I can't describe that prick. Just Google him if I look. How are you going to describe him? Well, if I did describe him, it'd be cunt, because that's what he is. So Yes, Laci Peterson and Scott Peterson. I'll book some more photos of that prick later. That's one when he's showing the one. So he don't deserve to be in a picture with her. It's a right. So we're going to get into talk about this situation and what happened on that fateful night. So today, like, we're going to be going into the episode now. The tragic death of Laci Peterson. The sources for today's episode is the Netflix documentary American Murder, Laci Peterson. The YouTube videos that I watched was the murders of Laci and Connor Peterson from the Law and Crime Network, Laci Peterson's Final Hours by the Dark Truth True Crime Stories, and from CBS News Sacramento, Scott Peterson talks about the disappearance of his wife, Laci. The podcast I listened to was the Brohio podcast, Like a Murderer podcast. Those two podcasts was the only podcast that was a single episode on this. Crime Conspiracy and Cocktails and Crime Conspiracy Cults and Murder. The reason why I said that was because when I Googled this, there is loads and loads of podcasts about Scott Peterson and Laci Peterson. But they're more 2 episodes plus, apart from the Brohio and Like a Murderer podcasts. But even them was like pushing 2 hours. The one podcast I found, I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but it was 6 episodes long and each episode was over an hour. That's how much information there is on this case. And that's the reason why it took me over a week to research it, because there was just so much information to take. And I was like, I've got to get all this information, all the main juicy bits, and get it all into one episode. So I really want to do this episode justice. I really do. I've been looking forward to doing it. It's been hard work, but I have been looking forward to doing this. So I want to do justice to it, and I want to make sure everything is done and everything's done properly. So also, I've got to give listener discretion, as I will be talking about murder, a baby death, and everything else that comes along with that as well. So there's going to be a couple of points where it's going to be describing how the body was found, which is not nice. For this episode, it's very important to remember the dates mentioned and the timeline. It don't matter if you don't, because obviously no one's going to make notes or get the phone out and start putting it down and things like memory of this and memory of that. I'll review the timeline at the end of the episode. So once you've got the end of the episode, just remember there's a lot of dates. There's a lot of dates I'm going to be mentioning, and it's all going to come, like Pulp Fiction, it's all going to come together at the end. So yeah, it's one of them. So if you do know this case and you know what's going to happen, let me know in the comments below. Is Scott Peterson guilty? Is he innocent? Is he a piece of shit? Is he a cunt? Anything like that, just let me know in the comments below what you think about this, because this is a well-documented case. So on Christmas Eve morning in 2002, in the quiet tree-lined suburb of Modesto, California, a golden retriever named Mackenzie was found wandering Covina Avenue with a muddy leash trailing behind him. A neighbour returned the dog to the Peterson family yard, assuming he had merely slipped out. Inside the home, a mop leaned against a bucket in the kitchen. A curling iron sat plugged in and resting on the side. And in the master bedroom, jewellery worth thousands of dollars remained untouched on a dresser. But the woman who lived there, 27-year-old Laci Peterson, nearly 8 months pregnant with a baby boy she had named Connor, was nowhere to be found. What followed would evolve into one of the most exhaustive media circuses and forensic investigations in American legal history. At its centre was a charming husband who carefully manufactured life began unravelling the moment he opened his mouth, because he's a lying piece of shit. Well, I think he is. That's my opinion. Today we go deep into the complete dossier, from the college origins and the early infidelities to the wiretaps of Amber Frey, who will come into the story later, the chilling behaviour inside the Peterson home after Laci vanished, and the legal battles of San Quentin and the controversial alternative theories resurrected over 2 decades later. To understand how December 24th happened, you have to look back at the worlds that shaped Laci Denise Rocha and Scott Lee Peterson. Born to Sharon Anderson and Dennis Robert Rocha, high school sweethearts, they operated a dairy farm west of Escalon, California. She had an older brother named Brent. After her parents divorced in 1977, her mother Sharon... Right, so when was she born? That's right, yeah. So she was 1. She was 1 when they got divorced. After her parents divorced in 1977, her mother Sharon relocated with the children to nearby Modesto. Sharon later began a long-term relationship with Ron Gransky, who helped raise Laci and Brent from early childhood as a devoted father figure. Laci split time between Modesto and her father's dairy farm in Escalon on weekends, where she regularly helped with farm chores and developed a passion for gardening alongside her mother. Her stepfather fondly nicknamed her Jabberjaws due to her talkative, bubbly nature. Even though the mom and dad split up, they stayed friends, and it was like one of those sort of things where they just grew apart, and it wasn't a nasty split or anything. And every weekend she would go over to the farm and help Aaron Brent and help her dad. She attended Thomas Downey High School in Modesto, where she participated in cheerleading and playing softball. After graduating high school in 1993, she attended California Polytechnic State University in St. Louis Obispo, majoring in ornamental horticulture, a path influenced by a lifelong love of plants and gardening. It was during her time at Cal Poly in 1995 that she met her future husband, Scott Peterson. Scott Peterson grew up in San Diego. He was the youngest child of Lee and Jackie Peterson, a blended family of half siblings. His father ran a crate packaging business. His mother owned a boutique. He was an avid golfer. In fact, he was a very good golfer. Quiet, impeccably groomed, and skilled at mirroring what people wanted to see. He attended the University of San Diego High School, where he became one of the top junior golfers in the region. During his freshman year, he was on the varsity golf team alongside future PGA star Phil Mickelson. Phil Mickelson was a very, very, very good golfer. He was he used to rival Tiger Woods, if I remember right. In 1990, Peterson earned a partial golf scholarship to ASU, joining the powerhouse Collegiate golf program where Mickelson played. Peterson's tenure on the ASU team was short-lived. According to family testimony, Peterson felt discouraged by the elite competition of the roster. Oh, poor Scotty boy. You don't like the fact he's got competition, ain't a shame. Boo-hoo-hoo. Fuck off, you prick. Reports and testimonies also revealed that he was dismissed from the team after taking a high school recruit, future PGA golfer Chris Couch, out drinking during an official campus visit. Following his dismissal from the ASU program, Peterson transferred to Cuesta College and later California Polytechnic State University in St. Louis Obispo. In 1994, Laci was attending Cal Poly, and she frequented a local cafe called the Pacific Cafe, where Scott worked as a server. Laci was smitten immediately. She gave Scott her phone number on a small slip of paper, but Scott didn't read it as he thought Laci was way out of his league, and in my opinion, she damn right was out of his league. So the following day, she tried again, and this time she asked him to read the note. Scott did, and the couple started dating immediately. From one of the podcasts that I listened to, they said straight away he started love bombing her. Like on the next day, he was like sending her flowers, ringing her and reading poetry to her and stuff, and just proper like over the top, way over the top sort of stuff. Like they call it love bombing today, if he was doing it. On paper, they looked like the California dream. The handsome, polite golfer, and the vivacious, smiling brunette. But even in the courting phase, Scott showed an instinct for compartmentalization. During their early college years, Scott was not faithful. In 1998, during his first year of marriage to Laci, Scott dated a fellow student at the Cal Poly. He dated her for about 2 months. He told this woman that he was separated from his wife and that we were actively getting a divorce, even though they had just recently got married. The woman had no idea Scott was still married until their Cal Poly commencement ceremony. She was sitting next to Scott in the crowd when Laci walked up, placed a celebratory Hawaiian Lee round Scott's neck and kissed him, exposing Scott's lie to the woman on the spot. I mean, they was dating for 2 months, so it's nothing serious. It's probably just sex for 2 months. That's probably all that it was, but she knew straight away there was something wrong. But the reason why he was doing this was Scott was living on college campus. He was living on site, and I don't think Laci was. I think she was living at home, if I remember correct, from what I heard. I haven't got to my notes, but I'm sure that's the reason why he was doing it. In 1998, while Laci temporarily stayed in Prunedale to start a job at a winery, Scott carried on a 5-month relationship with another woman, Janet Oil. Scott never told the woman he was married, presenting himself as completely single. The woman discovered the truth when Scott's roommate let Janet in one night. Not knowing Laci was in the room with Scott, Janet unexpectedly walked into Scott's bedroom and caught Scott in bed with Laci. She was stunned and furious and lashed out verbally at both of them, demanding to know what the fuck was going on. I mean, you imagine that. You've been going out for 5 months, so you're starting to get feelings. You're starting to get, like, there's a lot of emotions going around. The sex on tap phase has gone, and he's kind of like, I'm starting to like him. I'm starting to, you never know. There could be a future here. And then his roommate walks up, yeah, man, what's up, dude? And it's like, hi, is Scott in? It's like, yeah, dude. You know what his bedroom is, dude? Yeah, man, radical, dude. And so I'd walk upstairs, open the door, and there's Scott lying in bed with his wife, but she doesn't know that. Scott's reaction was no reaction. He reportedly offered no immediate excuse or frantic explanation. Instead, he just lay there completely nonchalant and simply stared coolly as she confronted them. After leaving the bedroom, Janet spoke with one of Scott's housemates. When she complained about Scott cheating on her, the roommate had to break the reality to her. He's not cheating on you with her. He's cheating on her with you. However, after Scott begged and grovelled, Laci forgave him and they got married in August the 9th, 1997 in a lavish wedding. I have a photo of the wedding here. Where's the wedding? I think it's this one. No, tell you that one. Tell you that one. It is this one. Here's the photo of this one. There he is. There they are married. He's got his suit on, black and white suit, and she's there with a beautiful dress. A big, massive smile. Yeah, look how happy she looks in that photo. She looks so happy. A big, massive smile. Has got a wedding dress on. He looks like, yeah, I've got married. To be honest, he doesn't look convincing there. He doesn't. He really don't. He don't look convincing in anything though. He does. He's just an absolute fucking cunt. He really, really is. God, I don't like that bloke at all. He's a bloke who definitely needs a punch in the face. After graduation, the couple opened a small special eatery in the St. Louis Obispo called The Shack, which served burgers and sandwiches. The Shack did well and was very popular among the community. So after a couple of years, they sold the business after they decided it's time to start a family. They moved back to Laci's hometown of Modesto in 2000, purchasing a bungalow at 523 Covina Avenue in the upscale East LA Loma neighborhood, bordering East LA Loma Park. Scott took a job as a regional sales representative for Trade Corp, a multinational liquid fertilizer company. Yes, this piece of shit actually sold shit. He was a shit man, he was a shit salesman, and he was nothing but a piece of shit. So that job suits him perfectly. The job required frequent travel up and down the Central Valley, providing him an autonomous schedule, an expense account, and a warehouse space on North Emerald Avenue to store product samples and fertilizer equipment. Laci, meanwhile, was thriving in Modesto. She worked as a substitute teacher and prepared for motherhood. When she learned she was pregnant in 2002, she was ecstatic. The nursery was painted with a maritime theme, complete with sailboats and life preservers. The baby's name was picked out, Connor. Beneath the suburban domesticity, financial and psychological pressure was mounting. Trade Corp sales were sluggish. Scott was carrying significant credit card debt. And more crucially, Scott Peterson was increasingly claustrophobic about domestic fatherhood. Friends later come forward and said Scott always said he never wanted children, as he would completely stop his lifestyle. A few people said that on the documentaries that I watched. They were saying he wasn't a child person. He didn't want kids. He liked the single playboy lifestyle. Even though he was married, he still lived a playboy lifestyle. And that was what he liked. Flash cars, money at his expense. He could go and buy gadgets and gizmos. He was just, kids was never for him. And because once she was pregnant, the bump comes, the bump gets bigger. Suddenly the realisation kicks in, shit, I'm going to be a dad. He day like it. He completely cramped his style. In November 2002, Scott was at a landscaping and chic convention and asked a friend what name he could write on his name tag to get the ladies. You've been to these before, like, you know, when you get to these, like, health and safety meetings, or maybe you've been done speeding and you have to wear like you know, it's like literally a name tag. So you could put like a sticker on, you have to write your name, Neil, also, you like, whatever it is. He went up to this bloke and he said, what name could I write on this to get me the ladies? This is while he's married and his missus is pregnant. She's about 7 months pregnant now. 6, 7 months pregnant. And he's asking, what name should I write on this name tag to get the ladies? That's how much of a twat this bloke is. His friend answered, why don't you use the name Rich? Scott laughed and instead wrote the initials HB. Now, what does the HB stand for? No, it doesn't stand for pencil. It stands for horny bastard. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to pull a girl, that's the way you do it, don't you? You write HB and you walk and the girl comes up to you. Hi HB, what does that stand for? Horny bastard. Yeah, that's really going to get the ladies. Absolute fucking twat. That very same friend thought Scott would be great for his friend Amber Frey, and a blind date was arranged. Amber Frey was a 28-year-old massage therapist and single mother from Fresno. I have a picture of Amber Frey, and yeah, I've got to admit, Amber Frey's a good-looking woman too. She really is a good-looking woman too. You call knock actually, but she's the complete opposite of a Laci. Bright blue eyes. Laci's got brown eyes. Blonde hair, long blonde hair. Laci's got, she's a dark brunette, like bobbed hair. Yeah, she's complete opposite of Scott. I can imagine Scott being more with Amber Frey than Laci Peterson. I really can. Yeah, and here is another photo of the two, a photo of them together. So these photos would come back and bite him in the arse. They really would. So when he comes up, you got this photo here, which is these pair at a Christmas party. So remember what I've said here. As you can see, behind here is a Christmas tree. So obviously it's near Christmas. Laci Peterson went disappearing on December the 24th. Keep that in mind. Yeah, Scott Peterson he's standing behind Amber. She's got a red dress on that's like comes up to her boobs. She's got her hair tied back, and he's holding her from behind, and they're mugging each other from behind, both facing the camera. Like I said, she's a good-looking woman. You can't knock her. I'd rather have Laci, but she is a good-looking woman. And here's the last photo of these pair together, and that's another one. See, so you cannot deny it's just a happy photo. The two leaning heads of each other with a big, massive smile. He looks happy. He looks happy with Amber compared to when he's with Laci. With Laci, it's like a forced smile. With Amber, it doesn't look like a forced smile. It looks a lot more natural. So I really do think he liked Amber a lot more than what he did Laci. Whereas personally, I would have had Laci every single time over her. They met at the Elephant Bar in Fresno, California. They spent hours talking over drinks and dinner about their pasts, families, and relationship histories. During dinner, the topic turned to the relationship backgrounds. Amber was open about being a single mother with a young daughter, whose name was Ayana, and asked Scott directly about his own marital status. She asked whether he was married or had ever been married. Scott's answer: he looked at her directly in the eyes and stated flatly that he had never been married. When Amber asked how an attractive, established 30-year-old travelling businessman had managed to remain unmarried for so long, Scott crafted a romantic explanation. Scott told Amber that he had simply never found the right person or the right kind of deep, lasting connection he was looking for. He claimed his lifestyle as a regional agricultural sales representative, aka shit seller, kept him on the road often, which made settling down very difficult. He assured her that he wasn't looking to play games, that he was genuinely ready to settle down, find a life partner, and built a serious long-term relationship. Well. So he's told her all that stuff, all while his 7-month pregnant wife is lying in her bed at home alone. And he's out. She's 7 months pregnant. I remember when Mrs. J was carrying Lottie. 7 months stage. It's the uncomfortable stage. It's a case of like, right, the bump's really big. It's really heavy. The baby might have dropped where the bump goes a bit lower, makes it even more uncomfortable. You feel like you need the toilet all the time. Your back's aching, your feet are aching, your ankles are swelling. And while Laci's going through all that on her own, he's whining and dining, talking complete bollocks to his mistress, who knows nothing at all about Laci. To solidify the lie that night and over the following days, Scott wore no wedding ring, had no visible ring tan line. He showed immediate enthusiasm about Amber having a daughter, asking detailed questions about Ayana and emphasising that he was completely open to being part of a family. Scott's lies and plans worked, and it wasn't long before the couple were immediately dating. On their second date, Scott brought a children's pop-up book as a gift for Amber's toddler daughter. Ayana. They made dinner, and later Scott picked Ayana up with Amber from daycare. This positioned himself as a devoted partner ready for family life. The thing is, it's been noticed later that the pop-up book that Scott gave to Ayana was one of the exact same books that Scott's sister had brought Laci and gave to her at the baby shower just days before. So this piece of shit gave his own unborn son's book to his mistress's daughter. Now, though that says a lot about this piece of fucking shit. End of the day, so he's worked his way into Amber's bed. They've had sex and they've got on and have started dating, and he's gone with it. And a few days later, so he's gone back home. He's done some things with Laci. He's gone back over to meet Amber. They've gone to go and pick her up from daycare. I must be school or something, nursery maybe. And he's given her a book that his sister had given Laci for Connor. And it was his sister that noticed this. So I don't know if it was something to do with, there was a photo or something in it. She saw the photo. And she's like, that's the photo I brought for Connor. So yeah. On December the 9th, 2002, Scott suddenly changed his story. This is widely considered by prosecutors, legal analysts, and investigators to be the single most damning piece of circumstantial evidence in the entire case against Scott Peterson. It is the moment Scott spoke of his wife as being gone, 15 days before Laci disappeared. So make a note of that. Make a note of that. This is on December the 9th. He spoke of his wife being gone 15 days before Laci had actually disappeared. So, on the evening of Monday, December the 9th, 2002, Scott Peterson was travelling on business for Trade Corp. He stopped in the historic town of Volcano, California, staying at the St. George Hotel. Earlier that evening, Amber had paid Scott with the code 11, their private shorthand for urgent or call me as soon as possible. Pages, fucking hell. Remember, I never ever had one of them. I always thought that was just what doctors use. When Scott finally returned the page call from his cell phone while sitting in the car in the hotel parking lot around 8 o'clock, he wasn't his usual cheerful, flirtatious self. His voice was heavily solemn and trembling. Scott began by telling Amber that he had an agonising confession to make, something that had been eating at him since they met 3 weeks earlier. He told Amber, I have to tell you something. I haven't been entirely truthful with you. Scott admitted that his claim of never being married was false. He stated that he had been married. In a voice choked with emotion and tears, Scott delivered a chilling line that would later define his trial. I was married, but I lost my wife. This will be the first holidays, the first Christmas without her. When people hear the phrase, I lost my wife, in the context of mourning before the holidays, the natural, universally understood assumption is that the spouse had died. Amber was moved by his apparent grief. She comforted him, believing he was a tragic widower, wrestling with unbearable grief on his first holiday season alone. When Amber gently asked what happened, Scott became deliberately evasive, saying it was simply too painful to talk about, and that the wound was too fresh. He asked her to respect his inability to discuss the details. Scott claimed that the only reason he lied on their first date was because he was trying to protect himself from the pain and wasn't ready to open up about his loss to someone new. There is actually the recording of that. It's like I said, on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and look up "Dead to Me," all the conversations are all on there. There's absolute shitloads of them. There really is. I'm not going to play it because this, if I remember right, the call goes on for a while. And the last time I did anything with YouTube, I didn't get a strike, but I got a slap on the arse for it. So we'll see what happens. While Scott sat in a quiet hotel parking lot weeping about his lost wife, Laci Peterson was very much alive in Modesto. At this time, she was nearly 8 months pregnant with their unborn son Connor. She was busily preparing for Christmas, hanging stockings, shopping for family gifts, and assembling baby furniture in the nursery. She's doing all this while she's 8 months pregnant, and that piece of shit is fucking his mistress in an hotel. Fucking winds me up. She had no idea her husband had just effectively written her out of her existence to another woman. So let's get back to Laci and let's look at the timeline before she was declared missing. This is the 6-week window between November the 9th and December the 24th. This represents the critical phase of premeditation in the prosecution's case against Scott Peterson. During these 45 days, Scott constructed a dual existence, maintaining the facade of an excited, expectant father in Modesto, while systematically laying the logistical and narrative groundwork to eliminate Laci to step into a new life. So after he started dating Amber and was back from his convention, Scott spends, it's November the 24th to 28th. So there's a little bit of a time scale here. So we've got a bit of some dates to remember. So November the 24th to November the 28th is Thanksgiving. To anybody who's America out there, if you're American and listen to this, let me know in the comments. What the fuck is Thanksgiving? I haven't got a clue. When you watch all these American programs, Friends, Modern Family and all that, Thanksgiving is massive. It's like absolute huge. I haven't got a clue where it is. I haven't got a clue. But I know it's massive in America. So from November the 24th to November the 28th, Scott spends Thanksgiving with Laci and her extended family, playing the role of the devoted husband. Laci is 8 months pregnant, suffering from morning sickness and fatigue, but actively preparing the nursery. December the 2nd, Scott rents Unit 13 at 1027 North Emerald Avenue in Modesto on behalf of his employer, Trade Corp. He receives a private scheduled bay large enough to pull vehicles and trailers inside behind closed roll-up doors. On December the 6th to the 9th, the web Amber's friend, Sean Sibley, the guy who Scott spoke to at the shit convention, he finds out through an acquaintance that Scott Peterson is actually married to a pregnant woman in Modesto. Sibley calls Scott, furious, threatening to tell Amber immediately. Scott begs not to promise, and he promises he will break the news to Amber himself. On December the 8th, Scott scans newspaper classifieds and he finds an ad for a 14-foot aluminium game fisher boat in Fremont and drives over to inspect it. He does not mention this purchase to Laci, his parents, or his friends. This is another thing that's going to come into play later on. On December the 9th, Scott purchases the 14-foot boat for $1,400 in cash from Bruce Peterson, no relation, and tows it secretly to his Emerald Avenue warehouse. On the evening, Scott drives to Volcano, California on a business trip. Sitting in the parking lot of the St. George Hotel, he calls Amber Frey in tears. He confesses he lied about never being married, but claims, I lost my wife. Meanwhile, Laci's 32 weeks pregnant, healthy, decorating the home for Christmas. So this thick twat tells his mistress that he has lost his wife, and it's his first Christmas without her, and by a massive coincidence, she disappears 2 weeks later. What a cunt. And yes, I said the C word. So just that's the bit of a timeline for that bit there. And I've repeated myself, but I did need to, but it's part of the timeline. On December the 10th to the 13th, Scott buys a £90 bag of cement stroke mortar mix at a Modesto Home Depot. He mixes homemade concrete anchors inside the Emerald Avenue warehouse. Investigators later found only one small anchor with the boat, but it had no rope. Can't be a very good fucking anchor then if it's got no rope, has he? Otherwise, you go, yeah, let's throw the anchor over. Oh fuck, where's the rope? So you just basically just threw a concrete slab into the water. But a circular residue ring indicating multiple anchors had been cast. It's going to come in play later. Computer forensic records at the warehouse show searches for San Francisco Bay nautical charts, tides, navigation conditions, and the Berkeley Marina boat launch. On December the 14th, Scott takes Amber Frey to a formal holiday dinner party in Fresno, posing for photographs together as a romantic couple. That's the one I've shown you earlier in the red dress. Something he denies. This never happened, he says. But it's all going to come back and kick him right square in his tiny little balls. On December the 15th, the very next night, Scott accompanies Laci to a holiday celebration with a family in Modesto, smiling for family photos alongside his heavily pregnant wife. On December the 20th, Scott purchases a 2-day saltwater fishing license for December the 23rd and 24th at a local sporting goods store, despite telling friends that he will be playing golf on that day. He later claimed to police that his fishing trip on Christmas Eve was a last-minute decision. This was made due to the cold weather. Yes, this thick piece of shit said to the police and the family that it was too cold to play golf, but it's okay to sit on a freezing lake in a boat and fish. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense, though. That's sitting on freezing cold December winter water in an aluminium boat. It's a lot warmer than fishing, than playing golf, isn't it? Also, here's a little one for you. He's brought an aluminium boat, and he's, would you say, do you say ride it? He's sailing it, whatever he's doing, sitting on it in salt water. Salt water and aluminium, if more science is correct from when was I at school? I finished school in 94, so if more 1992 science with Mr. Woodruff is correct, aluminium and salt water don't go well together. But Scott knows this. He knows this. We know the fuck all about it because he drives past, I think it's 4 marinas to get to this one. And this is 90 miles away. Not round the corner. He's gone past the ones local to where he lives and all fresh water. Instead, he's driven 90 miles away to a saltwater one. But that's going to come into play later on. I don't want to jump the gun on that one. Come into play later. On December the 23rd, Laci visits her sister Amy. She has a hair salon in Modesto. Scott arrives shortly after to get his own hair trimmed. Amy invites them to join the family on a Christmas morning for brunch. Scott declines, saying he has a golf engagement. Remember? Golf engagement on that day. Scott offers to pick up a gift. Amy ordered it for her grandfather and says, as I'm in the area, I will fetch it and pick it up the following day. So that's going to come into play as well. So there he is. He's there telling people he's gone fishing because it was too cold to play golf. But he's already saying that he's going to play golf. It's 8 p.m. Laci speaks on the phone with her mother, Sharon Rocha. It is the last confirmed conversation anyone other than Scott would have with Laci. Laci sounds happy, mentioning that she's watching television with Scott and planning to bake gingerbread cookies the next day. December the 24th, Christmas Eve morning, 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Scott claims he and Laci woke up, had breakfast and watched the Martha Stewart on Today Show and was learning how to cook meringues. He claimed Laci was planning to mop the floor, make gingerbread cookies and walk their golden retriever Mackenzie in East LA Loma Park. 9:30 to 10 a.m. Scott leaves the house, loads his truck and heads to the Emerald Avenue warehouse. At 10:18, a neighbour finds Mackenzie wandering the street with a muddy leash attached and puts the dog back in the Peterson backyard. The mop and bucket sit in the kitchen and Laci is never seen alive again. 12:54. Scott drives 90 miles. That's a 180-mile round trip to the Berkeley Marina. Launches his 14-foot boat into the choppy salt waters of the San Francisco Bay and creates the physical and temporal anchor for the remainder of the investigation. As I said, remember, his boat's aluminium in salt water. They don't go together. I'm sure they don't. Scott claimed he fished for an hour or two, drove back to Modesto, unloaded the boat at the warehouse. Then he phoned Laci at 2:15 and left a voicemail saying this. So I'm going to play this voicemail for you. Hopefully YouTube won't kick me off. So I need to share the screen, don't I? Share the screen as voicemail to share that. And it's this one.
Message at home, 2:15. I live in Berkeley. I won't be able to get to Villa Farms to get that basket for Papa. I was hoping you would get this message and go on out there. I'll see you in a bit, sweetie. Love you. Bye.
So there's Scott turning around, saying he can't get the cake or whatever it was. In case you couldn't understand what he said, this is what he said. Hey, beautiful. I just left a message at home, 2:15. I'm leaving Berkeley. I won't be able to get to the Villa Farms to get the basket for Papa. I was hoping you would get this message and go on out there. I'll see you in a bit, sweetie. Love you. Bye. But you notice how he said that. Hey, beautiful. I just left you a message at home, 2:15. Why would you mention the time? When you phone someone and leave someone a message, do you turn around and go, like say it's me, if I found Lucy, I'd be like, hello, Lucy, it's 2 minutes past 11 at night and I'm doing my podcast. I just thought I'd let you know that just in case, I thought I'd let you know just in case. You're asleep, but it don't matter. And put the phone down. You don't reference times. You would just literally turn around and say, hey, beautiful, I'm leaving Berkeley. I ain't going to be able to get the basket for Papa. You wouldn't mention the time unless you was making a timeline for yourself. Wink, wink. He then returned home around 4:30 p.m. He claimed he found the house empty, the leash on the dog in the backyard, and Laci's Land Rover was still in the driveway. He said he washed the clothes, he had warm fishing, he showered, ate some pizza, and only called Laci's mother, Sharon Roger, at 5:15 when he realised Laci wasn't home. So he's waited just 45 minutes. So he's washed his clothes, had a shower, washed his clothes, ate some pizza, all in 45 minutes. And when he phoned Laci's mom, Sharon, these were his exact words. Laci is missing. Now, why would you say that? Why would you, after 45 minutes of being home, phone Laci's mom and say Laci's missing? You wouldn't. You would say, hello, mother-in-law, is Laci there? And she would say, no. And be like, okay, I just got back from work and she's not here. I was just wondering where she is. I'll phone around, I'll find her. That's what your call would be. And then you would phone around the people who you think she would be at. Not this prick. This prick turns around and goes, Laci is missing. How does he know she is missing? There's the question. He would only know she's missing if he did something about it and made a reason for her to go missing. So that's the way I look at that. From the moment detectives Ron Cloward and Al Braccini and Craig Grogan arrived at the Covina Avenue, Scott's demeanour did not match that of a frantic, expectant father. Don't forget, she's 8 months pregnant now. He was calm, cooperative on the surface, but evasive on the details. When asked about his fishing trip, he claimed he used his favourite silver lure. But when police went to the to his boat, they found 2 new lures still in the packaging unopened. When asked about his new boat, he claimed it was an impulse purchase and it was going to be a surprise Christmas present for Laci's stepdad, who never went fishing. So why would you buy him a boat? When police searched his North Emerald Avenue warehouse, they found a cement ring inside the boat and a concrete residue, suggesting someone had mixed homemade concrete anchor weights. Yet, only one small anchor was recovered. The police asked him about this, and he turned around and says, "Oh, I only made one anchor. That was all that I did, even though there was evidence of multiple." So the police officer said, "Okay, then, so where's the rest of the concrete?" He said, "Oh, I've done some work on the drive at home." So the police then go back home, and he was right. He had done some patch-up work on his drive. So that did cover that story. I think that's all bullshit. And he might have filled in a couple of them, like little bits here and there, but we all know where them anchor weights went, and it wasn't just one that he made. On December the 30th, a friend of Amber saw Scott's picture on the news and called the Modesto police tip line. Amber was horrified to discover that the man she had been dating for 6 weeks was the husband of a missing pregnant woman. She agreed to cooperate completely with the police officers and the investigators and allowed detectives to wiretap her phone. What followed is surreal to listen to. On the evening of December the 31st, 2002, thousands gathered in the downtown Modesto for a somber, candlelit vigil, praying for the safe return of the missing pregnant Laci Peterson and her unborn son, Connor. In the middle of this gathering, Scott Peterson slipped into the shadows, pulled out his Nokia 3210 and placed a call to Amber Frey. What followed was an elaborate real-time fabrication. Scott told Amber he was in France celebrating New Year's Eve near the Eiffel Tower alongside European business associates named Francois and Pascal. He complained about the freezing European weather, describing the massive holiday crowds, and claimed to be watching the fireworks display. Blaming a poor international connection, Scott paused during the call to mimic the ambient noise of a Parisian street party. The reality was far darker. Media cameras caught photos of Scott standing outside a Modesto with a candle in hand, looking detached as he stepped away from his weeping in-laws to whisper romantic promises into his phone. I've got that call, so I'm going to play that for you now. And I'm going to share the screen again. Go on to this one. No, sorry, this one. Go on to that. And it is this call. It's going to play now. Here we go.
Hello?
Amber,
Hi.
Amber,
I can hear you.
Amber, Amber, can you hear me? It's New Year's.
I know. I can hear you.
Amber, it's New Year's here. Are you there?
Yes. Have a good time.
Amber, hey, Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
I wanted to call you.
Thank you.
Amber, are you there?
I'm here.
Amber,
I wish you could hear me.
I'm on the, I think that you're there. I'm near the Eiffel Tower. New Year's celebration is unreal. The crowd is huge.
The crowd's huge?
Amber,
Yes, I'm here.
Amber, you're there. I can't hear you right now, but I'll call you on your New Year's.
Okay. I'll hear from you then.
Amber, Amber, miss you. See you soon.
Okay. I hope
So that was the call that he made at New Year's Eve. He made a following one afterwards, but that was a longer call. So I don't know what the thing is with YouTube at the minute, because obviously they had me last time. So I'm not going to push the boundaries on that one. I'm just going to play that one. Just leave it at that. But he did make another, like a follow-up call, and he was a little bit more detailed. But I think that's about 4 or 5 minutes long. So, but one thing I did realise, I have actually got the phone call when he said to Amber about his wife being lost. So I'm going to play that for you now and share the screen again. I'm going to go to this one, and it was this one. This is what he says.
Hello?
Amber.
Yes.
Scott continues to call Amber, and detectives are intent on getting him to repeat something he told her just before Laci disappeared. Those 4 short but incriminating words, "I lost my wife."
You came and told me this elaborate lie about her missing and this tragedy, and that
No,
that this will be the first holidays without her?
Sweetie, I never said. Amber, God, I don't want to fight with you. You know that I never said tragedy or missing.
Oh, yes, you said you've lost your wife.
No, yes.
Obviously without me saying much. But we will
I said that I lost my wife.
Yes, you did.
I did.
Bingo. This is what investigators needed.
So that was the bit that he turned around and said he lost his wife. So yeah. Now, obviously you can tell. Now, don't forget, this is New Year's Eve. So Laci has been missing now since Christmas Eve. So she's been missing for 7 days. Right? Does that sound like a man whose missing wife, an unborn child, don't forget she's 8 months pregnant, she could drop anytime. And does that sound like a man who's worried about where his wife is? Does that sound like a man who's absolutely torn apart and completely losing his mind because his missus, his wife, cannot be found? Does that sound like a man like that, does he? No, he don't at all. That's just a bloke who's looking for a fuck. That's all it is. Simple as that. All he's thinking about is, like every other fucking bloke, he's thinking with his dick. Because he's a cunt. Can't fuck, honestly, if you saw him, you would punch him straight in the fucking face, and he wouldn't be once or twice, neither. It'd be quite a few punches, and probably a few elbows as well. Absolute fucking arsehole. Your wife is disappeared, no one knows where she is, and you are doing fuck all, apart from phoning your knockoff. Because during all this, he refuses to do interviews. He refuses to go on TV. It's only a parents and a family and friends that I'm saying them doing all them going on news shows, them going on radios, them going on the newspapers, them doing everything, vigils, putting stickers out there, not stickers, fucking posters. They're putting posters on the lampposts and everything. Them doing everything. He does fuck all. He does the most minimum of minimum. He's not interested. People used, when you watch the documentaries, the word that they use to explain him when Laci is missing is disinterested. Embarrassed was another one someone mentioned. Non-coherent was another one. What's the fucking other word? Oh, I had them written down in my phone, but I can't be asked to fucking get it. I had them written down in my phone. There was about 5 different things, and I was like, fucking hell. But if you think about it, non-engagemental. That was another one. He didn't engage with anybody. So he wouldn't talk to anybody. He was literally doing, he'd stand there, but he would stand at the back. He wouldn't be at the front, being the face and the focal point. Say, find Laci, I need to find her. Help me. He'd be at the back on his phone, just playing Snake or whatever. It's 2002, he's got to knock your 3210 now. Cunt. Oh, where was I? I've lost me fucking line. Where was I? Oh, yeah, I am. Here I am. Unbeknownst to Scott, Amber had discovered his true identity and had already contacted the Modesto Police Department. She agreed she would help him whatever way she can, and she would let the police tap her phones So she recorded all the calls between her and Scott. Like I said, if you type in on YouTube, there's a guy, he's got them all. He's got all the transcripts of the phone calls. Fair play to him. Fair play to him. Listening to him paint a romantic portrait of Paris while knowing he was actually standing at a vigil for his missing wife became one of the most chilling moments of the entire investigation. I mean, just try and process that. I mean, you met a candlelit vigil for your missing wife and unborn child. There's a picture of him holding a candle, and he's just looking at the floor. He's not crying. There's no emotion on his face. He's literally just staring at the floor thinking, fuck me, I don't know where I'd rather be. Then, while them doing that, he slips off and makes a bullshit phone call saying he's in the next to the Eiffel Tower, while he's looking at a picture of his fucking wife who's missing. Fuck, you talk about fucking cojones on a bloke. Jesus Christ. Equally chilling was Scott's behaviour inside the marital home on Carina Avenue during the weeks following the disappearance. So, what's the name of the interview? What page is this? 18 or 37. So, if you watch the CBS News Sacramento, if you watch that, the interview there, he gives it everything away because he's doing I think this is his first proper interview. I think this is the first time he's actually sat down and done an interview. And to be honest, he doesn't do him well. He doesn't look good in this interview at all. And you can tell straight away he's fucking lying. Straight away. You can, before you even have any conception or have any opinion of what's happened, you just look at him and you're like, he's fucking guilty. Straight away. Straight away. You don't need to be Grissom from CSI to see it. Or Judge Judy. You know straight away. Yeah, on this one, if you watch it, I think it's a 25-minute documentary, so I'm not going to play. I was going to play snippets from it, but I thought I don't want to push the YouTube thing. So the first thing he did, they asked the interviewer, it's a woman, she asked him and said, have you been in the nursery? And he turned around and he says, I refuse to enter the nursery unless Connor is in my arms. That's what he says. Them was his words. I won't go. The door's locked, and I won't go into the nursery until Connor's in my arms. The reality was, he turned it into a storage room, changed the locks on the doors, and if you do watch the documentary, it's nothing but a fucking dumping ground. It's all it is. It's just an absolute dump. It's terrible. And there's all brand new furniture in there, and it's got stuff inside the cot. You know, it's got his. Oh, you need to see it. Honestly, it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Within weeks, he put Laci's Land Rover up for sale and traded him for a Dodge pickup truck. The car sales company, once they found out what had happened, sold Laci's car back to Laci's parents for $1, saying it was wrong having it in their car lot and it needed to be with the family. Fair play to him. Fair play to him. He contacted a real estate agent to put the Covina Avenue home on the market, and he was going to be sold fully furnished, even down to Laci's personal belongings. Also, this is another thing as well, he added premium adult film channels to his cable package at home within days of vanishing. Now, let's break this down. Right, so you've got the change in the nursery, which he completely fucking lies about. He's got Laci's car and he sold it. Why would you sell her car within weeks of her disappearing unless you knew she wasn't coming back? Why would you sell your house? This is your family home that you and your wife live in, and this is the family home you are going to raise your child in. Why would you want to sell it and do a runner? And then, as for the porn channels that he added, if your wife, partner, had been missing and your unborn child and you didn't know what was going on, you would not be thinking about knocking one off. You would literally not be, you wouldn't be horny, your dick wouldn't work, and there's no way you'd want to watch porn and start knocking one off. That would be the last thing in your mind. You would just be thinking, I need to be out there. I've got to find her. I need to find my wife. I need to find my wife. Where's Laci? Where's Laci? Where am you? Where am you? Not, let's put Debbie Does Dallas on. You know, absolute fucking wanker. To anyone watching, Scott Peterson was not acting like a grieving man waiting for his wife to walk back through the door. He was systematically scrubbing her existence from his life. He was erasing everything that reminded him of Laci. He was trying to get rid of. The car, get rid of it. The house, get rid of it. He wanted everything of Laci gone so he could start a brand new life. The phone calls between Scott Peterson and Amber Frey on January the 6th, 2003, nearly 2 weeks after Laci disappeared, marked the exact moment Scott's fabricated world collided with reality on a police-monitored wiretap. Prior to that call, Scott had been telling Amber elaborate lies, claiming he was travelling overseas in Paris and Europe. Amber, however, had already discovered the truth, gone to the police, and she agreed to have all the phone calls tapped. When Scott called Amber on January the 6th, he began by apologising, attempting to break the news gently and expecting reluctance to reveal it over the phone. Now, I think this is the right one. Let me have a look. Let's share this one. I'm sure this is the right one. Where is it? That one. Yep, that's it. And I'm sure it is this one.
I do when I've been traveling.
Okay.
The girl I got married to, her name is Laci.
Mm-hmm.
She disappeared just before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
For the past 2 weeks, I've been in Modesto with her family and mine, searching for her.
Okay.
She just disappeared, and no one knows
Okay. Now,
where she's been.
Scott.
And I can't tell you more.
And that was that one there. So as you can tell, he starts saying there is, it does go, if you go click on that, there's a second part on that, and he goes on to it in a bit more detail, but it's a longer like version. That's kind of like the short version of it, sort of thing. And I did, like I said, I'm a little bit dodgy at the minute with YouTube. I don't know what I can and what I can't get away with, so I don't want to push the boat. But this is what he says. I am so sorry I'm going to hurt you in this way. I don't want to do this over the phone. I want to tell you this. I want to be there in person to tell you this. During the last couple of weeks, I have lied to you that I have been travelling. He then admitted he had actually been in Modesto helping authorities and volunteers search for his missing pregnant wife. Rather than focusing on his missing wife, Scott quickly pivoted to portray himself as a victim under siege by the press. This is what the second part tells you. Scott, this is from Scott. The media has been telling everyone that I had something to do with their disappearance. So the past 2 weeks I've been hunted by the media. I know that I am. You know I'm destroyed. Amber replies, so you know you and I, Scott, are destroyed. During the call, Amber pressed him on his behaviour, forcing Scott into awkward admissions and verbal corners. Amber challenged why he kept calling her with romantic banter while his wife was missing. This is Amber. You've been calling, having conversations with me when all this is happening. Scott. Yeah. Amber. Really? Isn't that a little twisted, Scott? Scott. It is. When Amber asked why he had called her, claiming to be in Maine or Europe, Scott mournfully claimed, at those times, I needed to hear your voice. Positive energy, I guess. When Amber pressed him on the dates, nothing he called asking for positive energy on December the 22nd, before Laci was reported missing on December the 24th. Scott began stammering through excuses, claiming he had misunderstood a question. Later that same day, Amber confronted him directly about whether she should be afraid of him and what might happen if Laci was found. When asked why she shouldn't fear him, Scott insisted. I am not an evil person. I would never hurt anyone. Bullshit! Scott attempted to explain his theory, stating, our hope, and it's a sad hope, is that, well, I mean, we need a tip. That's why we have such a big reward. The reward was $250,000, if I remember right. And I think it went up to $500,000 at the end. We just hope that someone is holding her. Someone is holding our child. And that we can, get her back with a tip. When asked what if she's found dead, Scott, my God, don't say that. Amber asked again, what if she's found dead? Scott, all our questions are answered. Then we can find the bastards that did it. Yeah, you. The January 6th call provide critical in the prosecution's case. That call goes on. There's a lot more to that call. Like I said, if you go on YouTube, the full call is there. And I'm not going to play it because, like I said, I don't want to push the boat. The January 6th call provide critical to the prosecution's case. It provided law enforcement with documented audio of Scott admitting his lies, shifting explanations, and desperately attempting to maintain a connection with his mistress while public search efforts were actively underway. Detectives knew that if Scott Peterson murdered Laci, her body was likely in the San Francisco Bay, precisely where he claimed to be, fishing. For 4 months, police sonar boats swept the ocean floor near Brooks Island, hampered by strong tides and heavy underwater debris. Coincidentally, police were following Scott for weeks in different unmarked police cars. They would follow him and drive the 180-mile round trip to the exact bay, near enough to where the bodies washed up. Hint, hint. He would exit his car and stand at the shoreline. He would stare at the water for 2 to 3 minutes tops, then get back in his car and drive the 90-mile trip back home. Why would you do that? He'd done this, I think it was 5 or 6 times, I said. He would go in his car and just drive 90 miles, get out, walk to the shoreline, look at the water, turn around, get back in his car and drive back. You don't do that for no reason. There's obviously something there that you're looking for. Then, nature had had enough of Scott's bullshit and decided to intervene. On April the 13th, 2003, nearly 4 months after Laci Peterson disappeared, the remains of her unborn child, Connor, were discovered along the shoreline of the San Francisco Bay. Connor was found in a marshy shoreline area near Point Isabel Regional Shoreline in Richmond, California, approximately 2 miles north of where Scott Peterson claimed to have gone fishing at the Berkeley Marina. Bit of a coincidence, isn't it, that? Recent major storms in the bay had churned up water and debris, washing the remains ashore where they were spotted by a passerby. Laci Peterson's torso was found roughly 1 mile away the following day. Forensic pathologists testified that Connor had been protected inside Laci's uterus from water exposure, marine life and decomposition until late in the submersion period. While waterlogged and showing early decomposition, all internal organs and extremities were present. His umbilical cord was torn rather than cut or clamped. Approximately 1.5 loops of plastic/nylon tape or twine were found wrapped around his neck, along with a cut or a tear across the torso. While the defence argued this suggested foul play post-birth, the forensic pathologist concluded there was no underlying neck injuries or bruises, indicating that the tape was tidal debris that snagged around the body after it separated from the decomposing uterus in the water. This is what's known as a coffin birth. Laci Peterson's body was discovered the next day on April the 14th. Her body washed ashore along the rocky coastline of Point Isabel Regional Shoreline in Richmond, roughly 1 mile from where Connor was found and a few miles north of the Berkeley Marina. Again, another coincidence. Recent spring storms had churned all the bay up, while the water had dislodged the remains and washed them onto the shoreline where a passerby walking a dog spotted them. Due to nearly 4 months of submersion in salt water and marine life activity, the body was severely decomposed. It consisted primarily of an incomplete torso. The head, neck, both forearms and part of the left leg were missing. A rib cage and other remaining bones were exposed and speckled with barnacles. The forensic pathologist found 2 fractured ribs, though it is impossible to determine if the fractures happened before or after death. Forensic pathologist Dr. Brian Peterson testified that he found no saw marks, knife scoring, or evidence of intentional mechanical dismemberment. The separation of extremities was consistent with prolonged water movement, tides, and marine scavengers. The chest and abdominal cavities were largely empty. The heart, lungs, and brain were gone. The only remaining internal organ was her uterus, which had expanded to approximately 10 inches, confirming pregnancy. The top of her uterus was open, which was the pathologist concluded allowed the baby to exit post-mortem as decomposition progressed. Wow. She was found wearing a pair of tan khaki maternity trousers, heavily encrusted with barnacles and sea vegetation, a discoloured maternity bra, and remnants of underwear. A strand of duct tape was found attached to her body. No blood or identifiable signs of puncture wounds could be recovered from the fabric due to prolonged water exposure. Because of the missing tissue and organs, the medical examiner could not establish an exact biological cause of death. Wow, that's a lot to take in. On the morning of April the 18th, 2003, law enforcement made an emergency traffic stop near the Torrey Pines golf course in La Jolla, California. They arrested Scott Peterson. DNA test results confirmed that the bodies washed ashore in Richmond were Laci and Connor, and they were set to be released that afternoon. Tracking agents feared Scott was actively preparing to flee across the Mexican border, hence the reason why the police intervened. On April the 18th, before the DNA results were officially announced to the public, detectives tailed Scott. When they realised he was driving erratically, they pulled over. Scott had dyed his naturally dark brown hair and grown goatee to a brassy reddish blonde. When questioned about the drastic colour change, Scott claimed that chlorine from swimming in his friend's pool had bleached his hair. This is what the prick changed to. So he went from this. So I'll put this picture up. This is what he was before. This is when he was with Laci. So you can see he's a bit of a fat, bit of a chubby fucker. He's got dark hair. No bit, completely clean shaven. No stubble at all. Dark hair, completely clean shaven. That's what he looked like. So now he's gone from that to this. And this is what he looked like when he was caught. Oh, look at that. He looks a lot different. He's got a big goatee beard that's been dyed blonde. And he's got short hair that's been dyed blonde as well to make him look completely different. What a bit of a coincidence. Ooh, and he was heading towards the Mexican border. Very, very, very coincidental. Oh, let me put that in a bit bigger picture because I don't know if you'll be able to see that just in case. So there he is. Look at him. What a fucking twat. Yeah. I haven't done nothing wrong. Seriously. Scott was driving a silver 1983 Mercedes-Benz that he had recently purchased in cash using his mother's name. This was to evade media and police tracking. When he was arrested, he had some items on him, and I'm going to literally identify every single item he had on him when the police pulled him over. Now, I'm going to read them all, and then we're going to go through it. Okay? So, first of all, he had some cash and identification on him. He had nearly $15,000, 150,000 in cash, mostly $100 bills bundled in paper bands. Apparently, he said this was something to do with his brother. His brother brought something off him and he hadn't been a chance to put it in the bank. His brother John Peterson's California's driving license, his brother's credit card and golf club membership card, and multiple credit cards in his own name. He said the reason why he dyed his the reason why he's got his brother's driving license was because he could go to this like special, you had to be a VIP to get into the golf club. and his brother played there. So that was another reason. Because he dyed his hair blonde, saying, oh, it happened because someone's swimming pool has dyed my hair. But he also told in another podcast, or it was a documentary, he said he dyed his hair blonde so he could look like his brother. So I don't know his brother like, or I didn't even bother looking. Fuck him. I can't be asked. They found 4 separate mobile phones with extra batteries and chargers, a laptop computer, and a portable printer. Why would you have 4 mobile phones? And I'll guarantee them 4 mobile phones had 4 different phone numbers. He had a folding double-edged dagger with a leg harness, a 6-inch diving knife with a leg sheath, a 12-inch Westmark hunting knife in a leather sheath, an axe stroke hatchet, folding saw, and a bow and arrow set because he thinks he's Robin Hood. He had camping gear including a 2-person tent, a sleeping bag and tarp, water purification tablets, and a 24-piece survival kit, a compass, binoculars, rope, duct tape, and a wire cable. And he had detailed maps of California, Oregon, Washington, and direct route maps to Mexico. He had dozens of shirts, pants, socks, trousers, and many of them was brand new with tags attached. He had hiking boots with multiple pairs of athletic shoes, toiletries, kit with hair dye residue, hair gel, and grooming supplies, a dozen pair of leather work gloves, multiple pairs of sunglasses and hats. He also had, it hasn't got on here for some reason. Why hasn't it going on here? I could have sworn it was on here. He was found with 14 Viagra tablets. Now, why would you have 14 Viagra tablets on top of all that? Was he going into high elevation? Was he climbing Mount Everest and needed to deal with the high altitude? No, he was crossing the border to Mexico. So you had them Viagra tablets because you thought you was going to get lucky. When searched at the station, Scott had no luggage tags or itinerary for a weekend golf trip. Only the gear, cash, false ID, and survival tools of a man packed to disappear. Here's another little thing that I found out on this cunt. When he was arrested on his way to the police station, he stopped off at an in-and-out burger drive-thru while transporting him. So they had just notified him about the bodies that they found was Laci and their unborn son. So they pulled in the car park and said, yes, we need to notify you. We can confirm that the bodies washed ashore in the San Francisco Bay am Laci and Connor. He falsely squeezed out one single tear, then immediately pivoted to ordering a full meal, and he ate every single bit of it. A double cheeseburger, French fries, and a small vanilla shake. To investigators, his appetite and calm demeanour immediately after learning his family was dead was an enormous red flag. So you've just been told your wife and your unborn child have been found, and you cry one tear that you had to force out, and then you eat a big massive meal like that. Yeah. The trial was moved from Stanislaus County to Redwood City due to overwhelming pre-trial publicity. High-profile defence attorney Mark Grigos took the lead for Peterson, while prosecutors Rick DiTasso and David Harris laid out an exhaustive, purely circumstantial case. The defence argued there was no murder weapon, no eyewitnesses, no blood or DNA evidence in the house, and no concrete proof of how Laci died. They painted Scott as a cheating husband and a liar, yes, but not a cold-blooded killer. The prosecution countered with undeniable web of logic. Scott claimed he was fishing at the Berkeley Marina on December the 24th. Months later, Laci and Connor's bodies washed up directly along the shoreline adjacent to the Berkeley Marina. The statistical probability of a random kidnapper abducting Laci in Modesto and dumping her body in the exact square mile radius of the San Francisco Bay, where her husband was fishing that morning, was astronomically impossible. The homemade cement anchor residue, the hair matching Laci was found in Scott's boat pliers, and the mountain of record lies with Amber Frey painted an unmistakable picture of premeditation. On November the 12th, 2004, the jury found Scott Peterson guilty of first-degree murder with special circumstances for Laci and second-degree murder for Connor. In March 2005, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection and sent to San Quentin State Prison. In August 2020, 16 years later, the California Supreme Court upheld Scott's murder conviction, but threw out the death sentence, ruling that the trial judge improperly dismissed prospective jurors who opposed capital punishment, despite stating they could follow the law. In December 2021, he was formally resentenced to life without the possibility of parole and transferred off death row to Mule Creek State Prison. So the judge turned round and they said they found it really hard to get non-biased jury members for this case because everybody knew the case. And of course, a lot of people had they had their own ideas what had happened. So they wanted to rule that out and have like a fair trial. And also, the judge also turned around and said, if you are in favour of the death penalty, you can't come on here. You cannot be part of the jury. So that's a bit dodgy that the judge is asking that. Decades later, the case of Scott Peterson refuses to stay quiet. Over the years, Scott's defence and family advocates, led by his sister-in-law Janie Peterson, have pointed to several alternative theories. Number one, the Medina burglary across the street. On the morning of Laci's disappearance, the Medina residence directly across from 523 Covina Avenue was burglarised. The defence claimed that Laci may have interrupted the burglary while walking Mackenzie, witnessed the thieves, and was abducted, murdered and framed. What the state's finding was, police arrested the two burglars, Stephen Todd and Glenn Pierce, shortly after. Both passed polygraphs, had alibis for the critical window, and pawned the stolen Medina jewellery, none of which had any link to Laci. Police concluded the burglary occurred on December the 26th, after Laci had already vanished and the street was teeming with media and police. And don't forget, there was thousands of pounds worth of jewellery on the bedside, the dressing table that never got moved, never got touched. Number two, the satanic cult. The defence floated rumours that a local satanic cult or transient group abducted pregnant women, citing another pregnant woman who had disappeared in the San Francisco Bay Area months earlier, Evelyn Hernandez. These claims lacked any verified forensic evidence, physical ties, or credible leads, and were dismissed by investigators as speculative deflection. Number three, the 2024 Los Angeles Innocence Project filing. In January 2024, the legal world was stunned when the Los Angeles Innocence Project, they love an acronym, don't they? They absolutely love an acronym. Everything's got an acronym. The LAIP, LAIP, agreed to represent Scott Peterson. The LAIP filled petitions requesting updated high-sensitivity DNA testing on 14 specific items of evidence, including a bloodstained mattress found in a burned-out orange van in Modesto, found around the same time as the disappearance. In May 2024, a San Mateo County Superior Court judge rejected 13 of those requests, ruling there was no credible nexus to be the murder. However, the judge approved DNA retesting for a 15-inch piece of duct tape recovered from Laci's pants when her body was recovered from the body. So here are the key arguments from the prosecution versus the defence. The prosecution. Geography. The bodies were found exactly where Scott claimed to be, fishing 90 miles away, even though there was local marinas he could have gone to very, very nearby. The premeditation. Scott said he told Amber Frey he lost his wife 15 days before she vanished. Strange word to use. His behaviour. Scott sold Laci's car. He tried to sell the house, and he dyed his hair and fled towards the border. The evidence. The concrete anchor residue in the boat matched a single hair in the pliers. So they found some pliers. He's got some of Laci's hair in. There's no blood on the hair. It's literally just hair. So that could be anything. Really much. That's clutching the straws there. The defence. There's no crime scene. There's no blood, no struggle, or cause of death found inside the home. The timing. The witness sightings claim Laci was seen walking the dog after 9:30 a.m. The neighbourhood burglary. The theory that Medina burglars or van occupants abducted her. New forensics. Seeking touch DNA on duct tape to identify third-party involvement. More than 2 decades after Laci and Connor disappeared into the cold waters of San Francisco Bay, the case remains a sobering case study to the architecture of deceit. Beyond the sensationalised headlines, the tabloid covers and the courtroom manoeuvring, the heart of this tragedy remains unchanged. Sharon Rocha lost a vibrant 27-year-old daughter, and her baby boy never had the chance to draw his first breath. No matter how many theories are spun about vans, burglars, cults, mysterious shores, one geographic fact stands, unmoved by the tides. On December the 24th, 2002, out of all the thousands of miles of coastline in North America, Scott Peterson chose to go fishing in the exact stretch of water where his wife and son would ultimately be found. So I know that's a lot to take in. So remember at the beginning when I said, remember the dates and the timeline? Well, none of you have done it, so let's have a crack at it, shall we? May the 4th, 1975, Laci Denise Rocha is born in California. October the 24th, 1972, Scott the Cunt Peterson is born in San Diego. The 1990s, Laci attends the Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and studies ornamental horticulture. 1994, Laci and Scott meet in the San Luis area. 1997, they marry. 1998, Scott graduates from Cal Poly. The late 1990s, great year. The couple operate the shack in St. Louis. Around 2000, they sell the business and move to Modesto to be closer to Laci's family while they start a family. 2000, they purchase their Modesto home. 2002, Laci becomes pregnant. November 2002, Scott begins his relationship with Amber Frey. December 2002, Scott continues the relationship with Laci, is heavily pregnant. December the 23rd, Laci attends a prenatal appointment. December the 24th, Laci disappears. Scott says he's fishing at the Berkeley Marina. December the 30th, Amber Frey contacts the police. January 2003, the affair becomes public and the investigation intensifies. February and March, investigators continue searching and examining Scott's movements and statements. April the 13th, Connor's remains are discovered near the San Francisco Bay shoreline. April the 14th, Laci's remains are discovered. April the 18th, Scott Peterson is arrested. 2004, his murder trial takes place in San Mateo County. November the 12th, 2004, Scott Peterson is convicted of murdering Laci and Connor. March 2005, he is sentenced to death. 2020, the California Supreme Court upholds the murder convictions but overturns the death sentence. December 2021, Peterson is resentenced to life without parole. December 2022, a judge rejects his juror misconduct request for a new trial. 2024, the Los Angeles Innocent Project takes on this case and seeks further investigation and testing. 2025, further Abibas claims and new evidence arguments are filed. Don't know what that is. 2026, Scott Peterson remains incarcerated while continuing to pursue post-conviction relief. These are the cases that shock us and frighten us. And then there's cases that just stick in your head for one reason or another. I mean, there is some cases like, you hear them and they just play on your mind. And after I watched the documentary on this, it stays with you. It really does. The disappearance of Laci Peterson is one of those cases. It's perhaps because of the timing. It was Christmas Eve. We saw the photos of Laci smiling, holding a bump, looking forward to being a mom to her first child within a month or so. She was happy, had a supportive family and friends around her. She was financially okay and loved her husband. She had everything she'd always wanted and the future she had dreamed of was ahead of her. Perhaps because Scott's behaviour created such a powerful contrast between the grieving husband the public expected to see and the controlled, seemingly detached man appearing on television. Don't forget, this cunt refused to do interviews and have his face on TV, calling people to find Laci. He left that to her parents and friends. I mean, what husband would do that? And the fact that you do that all the way through and just look completely not interested whatsoever says it all. Perhaps it's because the physical evidence left behind so many unanswered questions. Laci's body was never found intact. A precise cause of death could never be established. Connor's remains were recovered separately, and the exact circumstances of their deaths remain known only to whoever was responsible. The prosecution convinced the jury that Scott Peterson was that person. Scott has never admitted killing Laci. He continues to insist that he is innocent. What cannot be debated is the human tragedy. Laci should have been preparing for motherhood. Connor should have been born. Sharon and Roger should have watched their daughter become a mother. A family should have celebrated Christmas together. But instead, on December the 24th, 2002, everything changed. And more than 2 decades later, the name Laci Peterson, the beautiful woman that she was, remains associated with one of the most haunting questions in American true crime. What really happened inside that Modesto home before Scott Peterson drove away on Christmas Eve? Unfortunately, we will never know. This has been the tragic story of Laci and Connor Peterson. Like I said, if you want to look at some stuff on YouTube, then just literally type in Scott Peterson. Honestly, the amount of stuff that you'll find, there's just loads of stuff. There is absolutely loads. And like I say, if you want to listen to some podcasts, there's some loads. Like I said, the best of the best have done it. Your Red Handed, your I Can Murder a podcast, your Brohio's, your Morbids, Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's called Rotten something. A Chinese girl does it. Rotten, I think it's called Rotten Murder or Rotten Mango. Rotten Mango. They've done it. Everyone's done it. Look, they've all done it. All the big wigs have done it. And like I said, it's now an hour and 31 minutes in. And I think I've touched base on everything. They go into like the real big details, like the Red Handed. They do all of the TV, the phone calls. They go into everything. They really deep dive into it, and a lot of the other ones do as well. Like I said, all the podcasts I listen to, they've all got the bits I played. That's what they played, and that's the reason why I played them. I didn't. Only the big ones played the big extended ones. So I don't know what the reason why that is, but that's what they did. And they really do go to town on it. They really do, because there's so much. Like I said, over a week, he's took me to research this and write it all up and everything, and make sure everything fits and flows. Over a week. So yeah, it's now 5 to midnight, and I'm just about to finish. So I'm not even going to bother with a not Sunday roast. So if whatever watched this week, what do we watch? Nothing. We watched Only Fools and Horses the other day. We finished The Crow Girl. If you do want to watch a TV show, The Crow Girl box set, that is really good. Season 1 and Season 2. It's on the Paramount channel. I think Season 1 has just come on Channel 5 over in the UK. Really, really good. It's based on a book. I don't know who wrote it. I haven't got a clue who wrote it, but it's really good. The Crow Girl. Absolute brilliant. And the woman who plays the main detective, she's brilliant. She's absolute proper erratic. Proper all over the place. Proper head the ball. And yeah, she plays that character brilliant. She really does. Really, really good thing. Oh, that was what we watched. Johnny Vegas. He's opened up his antiques things. He does antiques. It was we've watched some episodes of that. But I think that's all that we watched. Really, we really watched much. We've been that busy. So Lottie's been watching stuff. We did watch the trailer for the Bluey movie. So, and Lottie was like, Dad, we have got to go and watch this. So yeah, I think it's August 2027 next year. The Bluey movie comes out. Oh, we will be going there, though. Oh, Saturday. There's a TV presenter in the UK called Dermot O'Leary. He's wrote a book called Toto the Ninja Cat. We was going to go and watch, I think it was in April, we was going to watch the David Williams stage show. There's a snake in my school, but it got cancelled. So I thought, oh, the Lottie likes going to the theatre and watching plays and stuff like that. So I thought, you know what, I'll have a look round. And on a TV programme, there was someone on presenting this Toto the Ninja Cat. It's done by puppets, like the people do the puppets and everything and all that. And a couple of years ago, we watched one of these. It was the Tom Fletcher, There's a Monster in My Book. And I've got to admit, it was brilliant. It was really, really good the way they've done it. Absolutely. I was like, that was really good. I really, really did impress me. And I thought he was done, and Toto the Ninja Cat, he's done very similar. I haven't read, I don't read, and I haven't read that story. But I thought, that looks interesting. And so I got Lottie the tickets for that. So me, Luce, and the baby went down to Brum and we watched it. I've got to admit, it was brilliant. It was only on for about an hour. Oh, it was really, really good. Really, really good. If you want to take somewhere for the kids, and it's not that expensive. I think it was 14 quid a ticket, I think it was, maybe. If you want to take somewhere for your child, just for an hour, to just sit down, Toto the Ninja Cat. Honestly, it was brilliant. Really, really good. Cannot rate it all enough. Absolutely brilliant. That was good. And that was what we've done, really. So that's all that we've done this weekend. The weather, it's still like a sauna. I think yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? It was 36 degrees or something like that. I've had enough. I'm sick and tired of sleeping downstairs because our bedroom is like a sauna. We've got 2 fans on it there now. And as soon as I go in there and go into bed with a look at Mrs. J, the heat in that room, it's like a fucking volcano. So it's just easier for me to stay downstairs because Lottie's in airbed, and Lucy's in that one. And it's not so bad with the 2, but when the 3 of us are in there, it's just too much. So I end up staying down here on the sofa. My back's fucked. It's gone. My back's gone. It's literally gone. It's killing me now. But in this position, my shoulders are fucked, which I'm fucked anyway. I've got 8 holes in my bastard shoulders, so they're fucked anyway from operation on that one and operation on that one. Completely fucked I am, and so they're done. This seat needs to fuck off now because I've had enough. Apparently, they said it's going to rain and this week, and it's going to be a bit cooler. We don't need rain. We need a fucking monsoon. That's what we need. Like you see in the jungle, a couple of drops, beep, pop, beep, pop, beep, pop, beep, pop, and then like fucking 3 months of torrential rainfall. That's what we need. We need to fill up the reservoirs back up. We need to get the grass completely soaked again. Oh God, this really has fucked everything up. Honestly, it really has. We go on holiday next week. We're going down to Devon. And it was like, I don't want the fucking rain down there, but I don't want it to be 36 degrees neither, because that's just going to be an absolute nightmare. Stuck in a caravan at 36 degrees. Fuck that. I'll be sleeping in the fridge. That's what I'll be doing. I'll either be sleeping in the fridge or I'll be sleeping in the bath with ice cubes around me, because I've had enough. I really have. There you go. There's my Sunday roast. The heat. Fucking moaning about the fucking heat. Yeah, so that's it. But anyway, that's the tragic case of Laci Peterson. Fucking beautiful woman. Absolutely stunning woman. Stunning. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think Scott Peterson was guilty? Do you think he was innocent? Do you think it was a cult? Do you think it was a stranger? Do you think it was aliens? Do you think it was Bigfoot? Who knows? It's California. You know, mental. It was obvious he did it. Obviously, he planned this. When he met Amber Frey, he planned all this. And that's the reason why he tried to create a timeline by saying times. That's the reason why he tried to do things. They did one before. They got some computer analyst in, and they said on the timeline between a certain time where they think Laci Peterson, it was after Scott left. After Scott left the house, they found there was things that was looked for. It was something to do with like plants and landscaping and things and stuff that there's no way they go, oh, it's no way Scott would look at them. They would if he planned it. Don't forget, he's planned all this in his head. That's the reason why he wants to try and get rid of the house, the car, everything. He wants to get rid of everything and start his new life with Amber Frey. Personally, I think it suits him with Amber Frey. I think it seems a lot more natural and happier with Amber Frey than he does Laci. So that's the life that he wanted. So absolute piece of shit. Absolute piece of shit. So it's now gone midnight and I've got to fart around with this now and do some tweaking on it and editing and stuff. So I'm going to go today. So next week's episode, I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not sure. I think it might be Jodie Arias, unless Brad Thomas jumps ahead with one of these serial killer ones. I'm not sure. We'll wait and see. Like I said, I am on holiday, but I'm going to take my laptop with me anyway, and I can do things in the caravan when the kids are, when Lottie and the missus is asleep. So it might be one of them. So see you later. Let me know in the comments what you think about the episode. Let me know if you want to come on the show. Let me know if you want to do a collaboration. Let me know in the comments or send me a message on Instagram. Let's_talk about pods. As for now, see you lot on the next one. Adios.